Hey everybody, welcome back to the Power 365 show. Today I have Hayden Stafford with me, and it's a great interview. We'll find out so much around what's happening now in FY20, what the priorities are, what the investments are, what the opportunity are for partners, for pro developers, citizen developers. I hope you find this session very educational and informative, and it helps you progress with your career or your practice. Full show notes can be found at nz365guy.com/162. Now let's get on with the show. Hayden, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you, Mark. Appreciate it.
Good to have you on the show, and we've juggled this interview for some time. Before we kind of get into what your world is and what you're responsible in Microsoft and where you're going in the FY20 year, which we're halfway through now, tell me about where you're located in the world and what you enjoy the most about where you live.
Oh boy. Okay, so I'm speaking to you right now from Seattle, our headquarters in Redmond, which is where my office is and the bulk of my team. But I actually live on the other side of the United States, about a 5 hours flight away in Cleveland, Ohio. Not exactly the tech mecca of the world, but that's where my family's from. And I make the commute here to Seattle 2 to 3 weeks out of the month, and then on the road with customers and partners the rest of the time.
Wow. Okay. So you're actually not permanently based in Seattle.
Not at all. My wife may argue to the contrary, but no, I'm not based in Seattle.
So what's Cleveland, Ohio famous for?
Well, I think the number one thing would be the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It is the birthplace of rock and roll. It is where the Hall of Fame is located, and I think that's our claim to fame. Many other things, of course, LeBron James, for those of you that follow basketball, he's from Cleveland, but yeah, that's what I'd say. Superman also was founded in Cleveland.
No way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Incredible. Tell me one thing I probably don't know about you.
Oh, wow. One thing I think the world doesn't know about me is I was in the United States Navy, and I was an aviator in the Navy for right out of the university. I was a biochemistry major in college, and then was going to go to med school, decided to go into the Navy instead, and here I am selling software at Microsoft.
Wow. It's quite a journey.
Yeah.
Did you travel much? Did you travel much in the Navy?
Yes, I did. I traveled quite a bit, and I traveled obviously a lot in my other roles. I was at Ernst & Young after the Navy.
Okay. Yep.
IBM after that, and Salesforce.
Okay. So you came from what I would call the dark side.
Yes, that's right. Came directly from the dark side over to the bright side.
Nice. So when you're not working, what's entertainment for you?
Three daughters, and a great life partner. My wife, they're most of my time. Mark, I'm on the road nonstop, 5 weeks out of the month. And so when I'm home, I like to spend time with them hiking.
Yeah, I bet.
Being up at our summer home up on one of the Great Lakes. We have an island up on the Great Lakes. So that's my idea of a good time.
Wow. So good. As we pivot into your role in Microsoft, for those, that are listening, what's your worldwide responsibility?
Yeah, so I think a lot of people sometimes confuse me to be responsible for enterprise sales. No, I know, Mark, you had as well. I came into Microsoft Dynamics 5.5 years ago, leading the enterprise sales team. For then Neil Holloway, for a name from the past. But now I'm responsible for all up go-to-market sales, sales strategy, sales operations for Microsoft Business Applications. So every aspect, all segments, mid-market, SMB, enterprise, all sales.
So is that touching like the mixed reality tool set as well?
Absolutely. So when I came in, 5.5 years ago, it was Dynamics, CRM and ERP. It's very much now the entire Power Platform, a lot of our AI suite, a lot of our mixed reality suite. So anything and everything that James Phillips does, I am chartered to go sell.
Wow, phenomenal. So a couple of years ago, we saw a bit of a shake-up in the Dynamics side. Roles changed, particularly around SSPs, TSPs, that type of thing. And there was a perceived headcount reduction. Can you tell me about what's happening now and what investments have been made to scale your go-to-market strategy, people in market, that type of thing?
Yeah, Mark, I'm so glad you asked that question because there is some very relevant and timely information for you. Let me first just clarify: we never reduced any headcount. Over the years, in the 5.5 that I've been here, we've done some marginal increases. Over the last 2 years, there was virtually no increase. We were looking to drive productivity out of the mainstream of Microsoft, and one thing we did do was instead of ERP and CRM sellers, we combined them. But at the beginning of this year, a lot of the partner network might remember at Inspire and Ready, we announced that we were making $250 million investment in the business, which translated into about 400 heads into sales. About 100 heads into the partner community, principally partner architects, and within our customer success unit. So 400 heads, that's a lot for a business that had roughly 700 people. Just about a month ago, something we've been working on for some time that has come to fruition. And, we just announced, I announced in a blog, Judson announced in a blog this past week, the board and Amy Hood has moved to commit 1,000 more heads this fiscal year in our go-to-market teams across the Dynamics business. 1,000 more, doubling.
You're over doubling. Wow.
More than doubling if you look at the total amount this year. So if you want to have anyone ask, is Microsoft serious about this business across CRM, ERP, and our Power Platform, you can emphatically say, heck yes, with over 1,400 heads since the beginning of the year.
Yeah. So what's driving this? What strategically, why is Microsoft now at this point in time driving this massive scale?
Well, it all starts at the top, Mark. Satya ran this business for a point in time, but he and Amy Hood, all of our senior leadership team, but he and Amy Hood really acutely understand the saying that if you own the app, you own the stack. Business applications is where you manifest all the rich insights from any AI or machine learning systems that you have. They're exposed in a business application, whether it's a bespoke homegrown app used through Power Apps or CRM or ERP. And in order to really compete in this space, they recognize you've got to own that app market. So that recognition, plus, Mark, just year after year of consistent performance. Our cloud products are growing anywhere between 45 and 100%, depending on where you are in the world. Top line growth. And the last piece is back to the you own the app, you own the stack. For every dollar of Dynamics sold, there's about $3 of other Microsoft products attached to it. So naturally, you get the extension with Modern Workplace and Azure through a Dynamics engagement.
Yeah. Wow, that's a powerful story, and I think it sends a very clear message to market how much right from the top of Microsoft there's this commitment to Dynamics, the Power Platform, and really the whole PizApp suite of products. You bet, Mark. And there's a couple other things that they've done, if you don't mind me riffing for a moment. We've done some monetization and compensation things here that are a hell of a statement as well. So, Satya's strategy is one Microsoft, and oftentimes our customers might say we don't behave as such. The different teams, an Azure team, an Office team, a Dynamics team, might not be incented to sell the other products or position the other products. Our Power Platform, and also what's known as CDP, our Customer Data Platform, which is customer insights, market insights, product insights, this whole insight suite. Power Platform and our CDP platform is now in the compensation and of our Azure sellers, of our Modern Workplace sellers, and of our customer success team. There is no other product at Microsoft that has compensation requirements across the business. That's the power of this business, and really indicates how strategically important it is that we position Power Platform and CDP correctly across all of Microsoft and not just within Dynamics. So these investments, right? This must, to the partners listening to this call, what are their kind of their call to actions? If they're seeing Microsoft scale like this, how should they be thinking about their businesses to stay in step?
Yeah. I think one of the biggest concerns that I have, it's a good concern, it's a healthy concern, is there's so much great innovation coming out of engineering. Across just last week at Ignite, we announced our Microsoft Flow being repositioned and invested in as Power Automate, our RPA solution. All this great technology. We used to be just ERP and CRM. Now there's so much more, and our partner ecosystem has first had to pivot from an on-premise to a cloud economic model. Now they need to pivot not just from on-prem to cloud, but to all aspects of the front office and back office spectrum, from a platform play with Power Apps all the way through to finished apps like field service or retail point of sale solutions on our commerce platform. That's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah. So what are your team goals for, as in what would this year, FY20, what would a successful, come the end of the year, what would success look like to you?
Yeah, well, my mission statement for my team is to grow our business applications market share through our direct and indirect channel, through value selling engagement, coaching, enablement, and building scalable sales across all of our teams. And then when I say all of our teams, I just don't mean our sales teams. I mean our channel, our partners. We cannot look at the channel as one sales mechanism and our field direct sales as another. They're one, same enablement, same readiness, looking to drive engagement at the same sales events. It's one big ecosystem trying to drive this mission of growth of our business applications market. And for me, success means very high double-digit growth of our cloud business and successful conversion of our on-premise business to cloud. And that's where Power Platform really comes in. It's a wonderful, wonderful enabler to have those first conversations and drive, Salesforce, Workday, SAP, Oracle, they all have a bit of a leg up on us in terms of time in the market. I think the Power Platform is a great conversation starter that can ultimately lead to additional first-party app sales of our CRM and ERP.
Yeah. So there's been a lot of talk about Power Platform in the last year specifically, and it's almost, I wonder, does Dynamics 365, still exist, or is that a focus for Microsoft? What are your thoughts?
Let me first acknowledge the first part, the growth and the importance of Power Platform. That business, our monthly active usage, we refer to it as MAU, is growing well over 150%. Our sales growth is growing north of 100%. So, you want to talk about an important critical market. The Power Platform is very successful. And it's not just Power Apps. It's Power BI. It's
the suite.
It's the suite. It's because they're very complementary of one another. But I want everyone to realize that that's only a small portion of the business applications revenue commitment to the company. Our ERP and CRM tools, from marketing, sales, customer service, field service, to finance, operations, retail, talent, etc. This is still a multi-billion-dollar business. And by all means, we are as focused on our first-party apps, our what I call finished apps, as we are in the Power Platform. It's very much a complementary business, and there's very much room for significant growth in both, Mark.
Yeah. So when we look at the customers, what are you seeing around customer profile? Are they changing? Are you seeing an eagerness we've talked about digital transformation for some time and the need for businesses to modernize. Are you seeing any trends in the customer bases that are now buying this, the Power Platform, the various suite of Dynamics 365 finished apps? What are you seeing in the customer base or the desire for it?
Well, I do. I'm grateful for the luxury that I have of meeting customers from all industries, all sizes, all around the world. And one thing is very clear. Digital transformation is not a buzzword. It's real. The move to the cloud is not just hyperbole. It's real. 4 or 5 years ago, you were having material business value conversations about why cloud. Now it's table stakes. And when it comes to digital transformation and what I'm seeing with customers, to your question about is Power Apps kind of taking over your first-party apps, it is a concern of mine, but it's a good concern from the standpoint digitization and digital transformation is becoming very much a platform discussion. And that platform for us, frankly, isn't really Power Apps. It's our common data model, our common data service. That common data service for us enables the Power Platform, which in turn enables CRM and ERP or any ISV to go develop on that Power Platform. So for me, digital transformation is a platform discussion. And I think the biggest challenge there, Mark, is getting CIOs and partners to rethink the conversation around what value is. People default to, whoa, you want to charge me X amount of dollars for a license of Power Apps? Well, let's not talk about X amount of dollars per seat for a Power App. Let's talk about the declining marginal cost that a customer would have by driving a significant platform play with Power Apps at the core.
Yeah. So I was at a conference some years ago, a Microsoft conference in New Orleans. It was called Convergence back then. And one of the things, I remember a customer getting up there from the local medical side of the industry, and they were a government agency. And they had something like 250 different software applications in their business that did different things, that required different levels of training, support, that type of thing. And they were able to see, back then, the old XRM common nomenclature, they were able to take over 50% of those apps and re-platform at end of life on what we now call the Power Platform. And that has to be a massive saving to any business on a digital journey.
Oh, yeah. We built this team within Dynamics called our Business Value Engineering team. In any engagement, we bring them in and they build the business case with the customer's numbers in their own language to present the business case. And the easiest justification, you can do, cost savings, efficiency, productivity, but the easiest one is exactly what you said, Mark. It is retirement of third-party applications on a single platform core. And, we have customers, Lexmark is an example, which is, the printer and an imaging company that was able to retire dozens and dozens of applications with just Microsoft's 3 clouds. And we've got a customer, a very vocal one that I can use openly. It's Chevron. Chevron has hundreds of apps that they built today, moving towards thousands of apps that not only reduces costs, but it creates a lot more security control, a lot more compliance, and it's an amazing value proposition, Mark.
It's interesting. You've landed new pricing, the $10 SKU around apps, and I just think that there's been this perception that and we talked about at the start, is that Microsoft is 100% focused on the enterprise, but this pricing surely makes it accessible to the SMB, the other end of the market, and the way you're pricing now.
Oh, absolutely. And let's delve into that for a moment, because I want to dispel some rumors and myths. Yes, $10 for an app, and then on the high end, as many apps as you want at $40. But think about this: if you're a company, big or small, and you go, "Oh my God, $40! Office is only $13." But guess what? With our pricing and the way it's structured, I brought up a comment earlier around declining marginal cost. If you have 4 apps and it's $40, that's where it caps out, Mark. If you take Chevron's point of view and you start moving to 300 and then 3,000, you're talking about pennies for an app that is modernizing archaic, manual processes and turning them into digital AI-enabled tools to drive productivity. It is a easy conversation when you start having a platform conversation with extensibility of all of your company's data.
Yeah. So talking about a large amount of apps, Satya said back in Inspire this year, I think he first came out with this, 500 million apps are going to be created in the next 5 years. That's a heck of a lot of apps. How does Microsoft plan to achieve, if you like, enablement of those 500 million app development?
It's easy. So we this year and moving forward, there are 3 primary drivers in Microsoft. You go talk to anyone. We talked about it at Inspire and Ready this year with our partners and our employees. There are 3 things we're trying to drive, Mark. It is customer centricity, it is simplification, and it is tech intensity. Now, let me break those 3 down because it drives to that. Customer centricity means do everything you can that is focused around your customer, enabling your customer, making it easier to engage with your customer to engage with you. Simplification is not having multiple application portfolio, application standards, multiple security layers, blah, blah, blah. It's about having a single platform and a single instance of your technology stack that you can extend and extend and extend versus having to do multiple iterations of integrations. And then the last piece is tech intensity. And that is bringing technical intensity to the common individual. We refer to, citizen developers. So if you've got a mindset in your business, and it's not just Microsoft, it's anywhere, around customer centricity, simplification, and tech intensity by enabling citizen developers, you give the tool set to a customer to go and achieve those three things and meet their customer needs with something that's frankly point and click. You don't have to be a coder. You don't have to be a developer. Mark, I've developed Power Apps. My team is developing Power Apps. This is enabling people to do things on the fly, and instead of having a 4 to 6 to even 12-month backlog through IT, they can now activate applications in minutes, hours.
Yeah.
And on top of that, Mark, we're not only bringing citizen development, we're bringing citizen, data scientists with all of the underlying AI capabilities of that common data model feeding our Power Platform. You are now kind of democratizing data science through citizen development of applications.
Yeah, and data science has been a scary area for so many, and I think that the more that the common person can understand it and start applying it using the tools is going to be beneficial for everybody. One of the things you said there was, the first one around customer centricity. Recently, I had on the show Daniel Hunter, Jeff Hall, and Rob Nerbas, which is the Microsoft Catalyst team, which I understand roll up to you. Does, what I see they're doing really speaks to this customer centricity where they go in, they do, customer journey maps, they understand how customers engage with an organization and then look at how Microsoft technology can help them in that. Is that, what is your thinking around Catalyst and particularly around scaling that initiative in Microsoft?
Yes. First of all, what those gentlemen did to start a grassroots process that is now turned into a company-wide method, it just hats off. And it is really bringing a structured, customer-centric, and Microsoft capability process together where it meets the objectives of the customer in the customer's lens. Remember I talked about business value engineering a couple minutes ago. This is using customer information, customer data to provide a view of the value of their solution to them. This is not Microsoft saying, here, use our product. It's going to drive this for you. We're doing it in the lens of the customer. Catalyst brings in customer thinking built through design thinking, customer architectures through engagement through our Catalyst architecture team. All of it is centered around what the customer needs. And all we're doing is facilitating that process versus us bringing our process and driving what Microsoft needs. It's a fundamental shift in the way in which we approach our customer sale.
It's exciting. Like I particularly have enjoyed seeing that team spin up and really, I've been involved in design thinking, and it is really transformative and makes it simple for people to feel valued in an organization and apply their thinking to technology. So I think, Great move.
One thing, so we have a Catalyst team that is, some really quality people like Jeff Hall and Daniel Hunter and others that will do that high touch engagement. But we're making this our process for all sellers and partners. We want partners to go through Catalyst certification to understand the process.
Excellent.
And you think about this real quick, Mark. We used to have, well, we still do, MSP, Microsoft Sales Process. I think the name itself talks about how internally centric it is. Catalyst is about our idea framework. It's about inspiring. It's about developing. It's about empowering. That's what the idea framework is all about. It's a fundamental change in the way we're thinking about engaging with our customers and our partners.
What's your thinking about community? Once again, going back to that whole 5 million apps, what's What's the opportunity for even people to switch careers now in your mind? I'm seeing that allows people to take a career switch and pivot into technology, no matter their subject matter expertise background. Are you seeing this across, the sales that you're doing? Are you seeing individuals really starting to become technologists as well as their, whatever their original type training was?
Yeah, I mean, we had on stage at Ignite and Inspire last year, the security guard at Heathrow Airport that is now leading tech transformation for Heathrow's IT division. That's one story that's well known. Mark, that's happening everywhere. Yes, on Monday, I met with a customer, one of the global leaders in medical healthcare equipment, largely around sterilization. And I met with two business folks, not IT. So it was a meeting with business and IT. And they were showing me the Power Apps that they built for field certification, the way that they certify their techs to go set up the sterilization equipment. And I said, wow, this is a pretty robust professional app. I said, how'd you develop that? Yeah. They said, well, I did it through the community network, the Power Apps community network. So you got business guys doing certification standards for field technicians with zero support from IT. Pretty crazy.
Yeah. So, Microsoft has a massive install base globally around Office 365. Is there an opportunity for those customers that are already well embedded with Microsoft tech to start pivoting to the Power Platform? And if they do, how should they be looking at the Power Platform from that Office 365 lens or that tooling that they already have in place?
Innovation and extensibility of Teams. Just this morning, by the way, I saw we have 20 million monthly active users within Teams. Innovation and extensibility of Teams is most facilitated by Power Apps. And to your point, we seed our enterprise agreements with our customers with Power Apps licensing. And there's a reason, Mark. We landed 100 heads, for sales heads that are just dedicated around Power Apps. Guess where they landed? Not in the Dynamics field. They landed in Modern Workplace. They sit within the Modern Workplace sales division. That is because the greatest use case for Power Apps is extensibility of that Modern Workplace platform, in particular Teams. So you're just seeing tremendous innovation happening with those seeded licenses. Now, for us, I'll admit to you, now it's the challenge for us is monetizing that, because we've done so much seeding of the licenses and people have had it for free. Now it's capitalizing on these great use cases and being able to monetize it. But that comes with value, and I expect customers will see the value and begin to move. Back to the earlier conversation we had around licensing.
So I just want to highlight there. So you're saying Teams, Microsoft Teams, more and more people have it now installed on the desktop, on the phones and things like that. So you're seeing the embedding of apps within that a real growth trajectory within the market.
Mark, the number one piece of feedback, we like any other sales organization, has quarterly business reviews. This is where we meet with our regions all around the world. The number one piece of feedback that came up from my business was around opportunities and challenges that needed to be fixed for engagement with Power Apps within Modern Workplace, in particular Teams. The customer success teams within Modern Workplace, the ones who support customers with usage and consumption, are overwhelmingly driving Power Apps extensibility. It's stunning. In fact, it's what I'm seeing from certain areas around the world of using Teams and using Power Apps to create front-end facing, front office business applications built off Teams is unbelievable.
So another thing we're seeing a lot of and hearing a lot about is AI. It's and this is not just within Microsoft. This is standard in the news everywhere. My wife works for Google. I hear it from that side as well. I see that Microsoft is and how it's differentiating itself is that actually it's making the tool set available to lay people, non-data scientists. What businesses and industries are you seeing really starting to, I'd say, get in early, but it's even starting to, we're probably mid-cycle now on a growth curve. But what businesses and industries are you really starting to see adopt like AI capabilities that you're providing?
Mark, this is going to be a lame answer, but it's everyone. And if you are in a company in any industry and you're not using AI-enabled technology, you are at a massive disadvantage. Whether it's going to be a disadvantage today or 2 years down the road, you are at a disadvantage. So whether you're a home improvement builder roofer that could be using AI technologies to go screen potential customers who might be talking about a home improvement using our customer insights solution, or you're a large manufacturer that wants to embed intelligent IoT sensors to trigger proactive maintenance on your equipment to get to the products before they go down, therefore preserving your supply chain. There are use cases everywhere. And the thing that a conversation I have with so many partners about, we shouldn't be selling AI. All right. There's not a AI product to sell. It is about selling and positioning and driving intelligent applications that are, leveraging AI. I mean, just use the use case of what we're using internally with our own inside sales teams with what we're doing to drive proactive outreach to customers. We call it daily recommender, but an inside seller comes into their desk every day, and instead of having to figure out what they need to do and figure out what the pitch is, our AI CRM suite within daily recommender basically is giving them the script. From emails to send, calls to make, target customers. It's the future, Mark. Every industry needs to be thinking about AI-enabled technologies.
I hope so. I've just been involved in a new startup ISV that's totally built natively on the Power Platform, and it'll also affect Dynamics 365 sales, that is targeted on sequences in the sales motion. And of course, the whole idea, they'll ultimately be lit up via AI. So the selling process, I think, can go through a massive modernization from technology. So we're hoping it hasn't launched yet, but it'll actually, by the time this is live, it will probably be live. We've been working for 12 months. And so we're excited about where that's going, but it wouldn't have been possible without, the AI capabilities that's coming to the platform, and it was already available in the platform. Yeah,
you bet. And if I can make one other statement on this, Mark, AI, that is an interesting topic with unlimited potential. But, I have to say, one thing that makes me extremely proud about where I work is what Microsoft's positioning around responsible AI, AI for good, AI for Earth, commissioning an external attorney to look at some of our customers around the world. This was just announced to look at how they're using AI and making sure that it's done in a humane and compliant way. Microsoft had an interesting history 15, 20 years ago. But what Satya has brought to a values-based business and using AI responsibly, AI for good, it really makes me proud to work here. And every partner that's affiliated with our network and driving our dynamic suite of products really should kind of go update and look at what Brad Smith has been talking about, what Satya has been talking about, responsible use of AI, and use that as I don't want to say a sales tool, but a positioning tool of starting from the ground up, from a governance perspective, from a regulation perspective, to do things right and start off on the right foot. So I just want to make sure I threw that in. Something I'm very proud of what the company's doing.
So as someone on the outside looking in, I've been to various partner conferences, and I heard Brad speak some years ago. And one of the things he said was, it was around defending the rights of people in the cloud platform, particularly around a case that was centered around Ireland. And I read his book, Tools and Weapons, recently. And I tell you, if you don't walk away feeling proud to be associated with Microsoft from that, and the proactive nature and the money Microsoft spends on protecting its clients, I don't know what would change you. As in, that book is rock solid about this whole AI story, the journey, and the need to get educated on it. So highly recommend it. I don't know if you've read it, but it's well worth it.
I haven't, but I definitely will. Thank you.
Yeah. The other thing I want to say on the book, it feels like you're living right now because there's content in that book that happened only halfway through this year. It's that up to date. And I feel like if you read it now, particularly, me being based in New Zealand, we had the Christchurch massacre recently, and Brad Smith came over and engaged with the government around that. So just phenomenally proactive, and I don't think the community and the market out there know just how engaged Microsoft is around, that governmental level and helping where they can.
Hey, Mark, can you say the name of the book again? Just so all of our listeners can hear it.
So it's Tools and Weapons by Brad Smith, The Promise and the Perils of the Digital Age.
I love it. I'm going to go order that tonight. I'm just looking right here. I'm on my phone and kind of looking at the news feed for Microsoft. 2 hours ago, this is the title of the article from a publication called Business Insider. Microsoft's reputation is soaring as trust in the tech industry flounders, according to research and findings across the industry. I mean, it's right now, here and now happening. Yeah. So I'm going to make sure I go out and get that book.
Yeah, definitely well worth it. Listen, I want to talk a bit about Microsoft partners and their role to play, in the future. But, there's been a recent announcement that Salesforce Marketing Cloud is re-platforming to Azure, which I think is a great thing. What's your take on that? What can you add to what's out in the market around that move by Salesforce?
Well, it really, when I talked about the three things around customer centricity being one of them, this is a move, and then, we made an announcement with SAP, we've made an announcement with Oracle, we made an announcement with ServiceNow, with Adobe. These are all being driven with a customer-centric point of view. Customers need open platforms. They need the ability to be able to share data. So these are moves. Every one of those names I just said, by the way, are my competitors. So obviously it's very frustrating to me, but the narrative and the justification makes a lot of sense. But then the true differentiator for us, and what I love the most about it, and I want every partner to understand this, these customers are doing this because of the open data platform kind of movement that's happening around the world with cloud computing. And guess who's native? Guess who's native in that Azure platform, built from the ground up? That's Microsoft Dynamics in the Power Platform. So while they're moving to an open platform like Azure to be able to meet their customer needs, we're already there. We're already light years ahead from an integration standpoint and using, native AI models. So I think it's being done for the right reason. And of course, on the surface, it appears to be a head scratcher. But it's the right thing for us to be doing for our customers, and also for customer data to be best acted upon with the AI that we were just talking about. Yeah.
So looking at partners, we're already almost finished H2, not long to go now in FY20. What should BizApp partners specifically be focused on this financial?
Yeah, we have three priorities. Microsoft has all these plays and actions and priorities across all of our business units, but there are three priorities in business applications, of which Power Apps is part of it, and then we have 6 sales plays. Make sure you're very clear on those three priorities and those 6 sales plays. The three priorities are land new cloud customers, 1. 2, grow existing customers. 3, expand our partner ecosystem. And so that's focusing on ISV Connect, which is a co-sell program that we have with ISVs that sign up on our marketplace app, on our app source. And we have a co-selling where our people are paid to drive ISV selling. And that's that element of expand our partner ecosystem. So you've got those 3 plays: land new customers, grow existing customers, and expand the partner network. And there are 6 very clear plays around our software stack, and Power Apps is one of them. Align with those 6 plays. Yeah.
So expand is an interesting one because, I've worked partner side 20 odd years and knew how to sell, be a value-added reseller, be a system integrator, that type of thing, but always struggle with this concept of turning IP into ISV solutions, and ultimately, just like your competitors might end up selling and representing if you looked at your competitors as other SIs. There's a lot of latent IP in partners. How do they really start? Is Microsoft going to provide any, whether it's training, tools, or something around how to take that IP and turn it into ISV-based solutions.
Sorry, Mark, I'm just going to have you clarify that. Is that the partner's IP or our IP?
The partner's IP. So let's say, they've been working, let's say, in the medical industry, and they just service medical-based customers, and they've seen patterns that if they created an ISV solution, that could be sold to multiple medical companies. It's not breaching or infringing across customer IP in any way, but it could be productized and sold along with the Power Platform, for example.
Yeah. So our partner's IP is the crown jewel and gold of our partner ecosystem. And I think that is the beauty of the Power Platform versus and Power Apps, and what partners can do with Power Apps along with their ISV, with their IP, is have a much more secure and managed IP governance around their own capabilities, their own crown jewels, and monetize it through our marketplace. Our marketplace, our app source, and have our sellers get paid to drive their IP. I mean, it's a hell of a compelling value proposition to be put through our digital demand gen engines and in our direct field sales organizations to sell our partners' IP. So I don't know if that answered your question. But the IP of our partners is the IP of our partners. It is not the IP of our customers or of Microsoft.
Yeah. Makes sense. So another one that I'm commonly getting from partners is around that SMB size partner. And we've seen a lot of partner consolidation in the biz app space over the last 3 years, maybe 5 years. We've seen a lot of the big players buy up the smaller players or the boutique shops, that type of thing. Do you see, one, the potential for new SMB or boutique partners to start up and grow to become big partners? And what's your view on the SMP opportunity in market?
So we have seen a lot of consolidation, and while I love it, because it helps those large global systems integrators, I also don't love it. Because oftentimes it's taking like SMB or low-end mid-market partners and then turning them into, enterprise GSIs. So, the SMB business is critically important to us. That business is booming. It is a major contributor to our success. Growth has been well over 60% quarter over quarter for the last number of quarters. And it's driven 100% through partners. And what we're putting in place with Power Apps, as an example, the pricing and design of Power Apps, that should be a wonderful seed for ISVs to develop and grow on the Power Apps platform and be able to go and add their own IP and create an amazing ISV network for that SMB industry. And I'll tell you, without calling out names, Mark, there are a number of partners I've come across, particularly in more of kind of the developing world, that are able to take a very low-cost ISV solution and sell very mature, high-end enterprise apps in the SMB market for very cheap as a result of the Power Platform. So we love the SMB market. We want to continue to seed the SMB market. And I think the Power Platform is going to be a way to go and drive it.
Yeah, agreed. So what does a modern Microsoft Biz Apps partner look like? Like, what traits are you seeing or observing that some of the more traditional partners might have been starting to pivot to? But how are you seeing the SI business, the system integrators, how are you seeing that evolve?
Well, I'll tell you, the most successful partner, large or small, is the partner that can speak to and walk the walk and talk the talk of our three clouds. So while you are an ERP, CRM, or just pure Power Apps partner, and there are some, being able to demonstrate extensibility of that business applications portfolio and carry the Azure conversation because of the native AI capabilities, the hyperscale capability of our apps and infra platform, and productivity through Teams and Modern Workplace. Those partners, and I know it sounds complex, but very small partners that have skills across all three are winning. It is the winning value proposition. Anytime we win against our number one competitors in biz apps, I shouldn't say anytime, 99% of the time, it is the value of the three clouds. Let me just reiterate, and this is for any partner or any up-and-coming person who's thinking about being a partner. There is no other company on the planet Earth that can provide you your infrastructure as a service, your platform as a service, your application platform as a service, and your software as a service. Making a bet on that total stack is a differentiator. Back to what we were talking about at the very beginning, Mark. It is a platform-based economy. And partners that can deliver on that vision with that totality of the stack are going to win.
Are you seeing any success patterns or things that partners are doing successful now in the last 12 months that you're seeing a higher drive in growth, adoption, things like that because of these patterns? Anything jump to mind? If nothing does, it's fine, but I just thought you might have uncovered some patterns.
There's a number of patterns, but the first one that jumped to mind is partners that take an extreme agile approach. The days of yesteryear of GSIs coming in and selling a large implementation where they're incented to have it go on, those days are gone. Partners that can get out of the box functionality stood up as quickly as possible for the smallest module and grow. The days of huge multi-million dollar deals, they're slipping, Mark. Companies are biting their way in, bite-sized little nibbles getting in, and therefore, our deals, we have to build new ramping structures, licensing complexity, because customers want to enter small and build and build and build and have the agility. It's kind of the instant gratification world that we live in with many millennials. Companies are starting to reflect that. They want to get in quickly and potentially get out quickly if they need to. And if it's working, continue to grow quickly and grow and grow. So I think the pattern of agility and flexibility and bite-size, starting blocks is what's working with a lot of our partners. And I've seen it to the detriment of many GSIs. We're seeing the small regional partners succeed because of that capability. Yeah.
It's interesting because I just saw an article in a news source the other day in Queensland, Australia, and Avanade had done an implementation, word ago, in 5 weeks. That was the article about how quick now IT projects are becoming. And this was for the Bank of Queensland, which incidentally had a Salesforce project for a long time until it had to get removed because of breaches with government standards.
With ABRA, yeah, I know that deal. I was involved with it when I was in Salesforce. Yep.
Yes, but this is a crazy thing when you see somebody like an Avanade, a very traditional GSI, and would seen as not being agile, but 5 weeks, that's pretty agile.
Yeah, let me tell you something to that point. We are, fingers crossed, we've got CEO to CEO agreement about to kick off a very significant deal with a very large bank, global. They're called GSIFIs, globally systemic financial institution. And we have built a project plan to go live in 90 days for a customer service and sales solution. 90 days.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yep.
There's been a lot of talk about citizen developer, and I think a lot of partners, and even seeing now that centers of excellence have been and sprung up inside these big accounts, which I think is amazing, and really turning the entire company and stuff into digital thinkers.
Yeah.
But there's some concern from IT pros. Are developers becoming irrelevant, and are partners becoming irrelevant in this new world? What's your take on that?
I definitely don't think partners are becoming irrelevant, because there's always going to be a need for governance, management, and even kind of as a service, applications as a service, as a concept in terms of ongoing maintenance, development, and support. We are seeing very clearly a convergence of professional developers and citizen developers. There will always be a need for both. You will have your, big customer external, think about an app exchange, sort of app that are going to need to be professionally developed with high-end sensitive data and professional back-end development. But you're starting to see a blurring between the two, and it is why we are now incenting our Azure Pro Dev apps and infra folks with Power Apps is because you're starting to see some give and take between pro dev and citizen dev. But I think partners, will play a major role in the number one question with Power Apps, which is governance. What are the governance standards I can put in place? I talked about Chevron, 3,000 apps. How do I manage those 3,000 apps as a CIO? Our partners can help to build that governance infrastructure and that, if you will, I don't want to say BPO because that's kind of words of yesteryear, but a kind of an outsourcer for governance and control of app modernization.
Yeah, so good. Hayden, before we get on some quick fire questions, is there anything else you want to add?
I know we're not quite done yet, but I'll just say, it's been an amazing ride for our partners over the last 15, 20 years that we've been around, but there truly is no better time to be a partner of this business. Microsoft Dynamics, our ERP, CRM, and Power Platform partners, there was a degree of a second-class citizen, or I don't want to say that in a negative way, but not the forefront of your mind from Microsoft's strategic priorities. I hope everyone on this that listens to this podcast realizes that nearly $1 billion of investment in just go-to-market, not to mention James's 7,000 engineering resources, is a hell of a testament in the strategic importance of this business. And anybody who's got a partner organization or thinking about building a partner organization to say, where am I going to put my dollars? I'm going to put it behind a business that the CFO of a $1 trillion company is putting their dollars, and that's in business applications.
I love it. Okay, let's do some quick fire questions. These are got nothing to do with your job per se, but more about life in general. They're very random, but just think about whatever comes to mind. Okay, here's the first one. What activity do you enjoy so much that it makes you lose track of time?
Skiing.
Nice. Would you rather be slightly late or super early?
Super early.
Excellent. What was the hardest decision you've ever had to make?
Surgery for my child when she was 3 months old.
Yeah, I bet. If you could go back in time, what one thing would you tell your teenage self?
Oh, wow. Have fun at everything you do.
Cool. What's your dream car?
Spacecraft. Flying car.
What's your guilty pleasure?
Sleeping in.
If you could recommend a guest for the podcast in future, what names jump to mind for you?
I would invite Lissa Taylor. I don't believe you've met with her yet.
No.
I would strongly suggest you meet with some of our engineering leads for our finished apps. Jeff Comstock, who leads our customer service and field service suite. We've just hired an industry luminary, Ray Smith, to lead our CRM suite.
Excellent.
And Mohammed Alam, who leads our F&O products. And then the next click down, you may have done it already, Mark, but the team Satish is an example who's leading our AI suite, our common customer data platform. That's where I'd focus.
Excellent. I love it. Hayden, it's been fantastic to have you on the show. Before you go, if people want to follow what you're publishing, whether blogs, anything like that, where can they find it?
I publish fairly frequent blogs on sales and sales leadership. That's on LinkedIn. So just go to my LinkedIn site and you'll see all the blogs that I posted. There'll be another one coming out in the next month. And I'm very active on Twitter. You can find me on Twitter and LinkedIn, and definitely like me and connect me, and we'll stay in touch.
Hey, thanks for listening. It's been great to have you with us for the show. If you'd like to provide some feedback or give us an evaluation, iTunes is a place to do it. If you just go to nz365guy.com/iTunes, that'll link you straight through to the iTunes rating system, and you can give me some feedback and hopefully a 5-star rating. Full show notes for this episode can be found at nz365guy.com/162. See you next time.